Hello friends, welcome back, and if you are new to our channel, thank you for stopping by. Now today I have a 4-row pattern which needs stitches in the multiple of 2 plus 1. So I have cast 25 stitches. 2 into 12 is 24 plus 1, and after that I have worked 2 rows of knit. That is not the part of the pattern. So let's start off with the first row of the pattern. The edge stitch is slipped off or knit. After that I work 2 number of knit from where the repeat pattern starts. And now in goes the needle, right needle. We are just going to wind the yarn thrice and then again work 2 number of knit. And again we are going to wind the yarn thrice around the needle. So that is just the repeat pattern. That means working 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, and this is also a knit actually, but the yarn has to be winded thrice. So this is the first row of the pattern, and the sequence is very easy, just working 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, and the next is winding the yarn thrice before working the knit. So this is the first row of the pattern. As I told you, it's a 4-row pattern, perfect for men's cardigan, boys cardigan. It can also be used to knit mufflers as well. So that's my last set. After that I am going to work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, and the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the first row of the pattern has come to an end. Moving on to the second row of the pattern, the edge stitch is slipped off or it is pulled, it is up to you. After that yarn backwards, then we work 2 number of knit, yarn forward. Now we are going to unwind the stitch, because if you remember, there we had winded the yarn thrice. 2 number of knit, yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch. So this is the second row of the pattern. So you can very well imagine how easy the pattern is going to be. As winters are here, you can use this pattern for making beautiful stoles, mufflers, sweaters, pullovers. 2 number of knit, yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, yarn forward. The edge stitch is going to be a purl. So the second row of the pattern comes to an end. Moving ahead to the third row of the pattern, the edge stitch is slipped off or you can knit, it is up to you. After that yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1, 2, yarn backwards. We are just going to slip that stitch. Yes, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards. We are just going to slip that stitch, that long extended stitch, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, just slip the stitch into the right hand needle. So this is the third row of the pattern, which is also equally easy. So we can say this is a beginners friendly pattern. Yarn backwards, we are just going to slip the stitch, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards. We are just going to slip the stitch into the right hand needle, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, just going to slip the stitch into the right needle, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards. That's the edge stitch, which is going to be a knit. So the third row of the pattern comes to an end. Working the fourth row of the pattern, the edge stitch is slipped off or purled. After that we are going to work 2 number of purl, 1 and 2, and now the slipped stitch is again slipped into the right hand needle, then working 2 number of purl and again slipping the stitch into the right hand needle, again 2 number of purl, and then we are going to slip the slipped stitch into the right needle. So that is the fourth row of the pattern, which is also equally easy. And the stitch which has to be slipped, you will just understand because it is a long extended one. That's the stitch. Slip it into the right needle without working. Finally, 2 number of purl, and the edge stitch is also going to be a purl. So the 4th row comes to an end, and this completes our first set of pattern. To repeat the pattern once more, this is the first row. Edge stitch is slipped off or purled. After that, 2 number of knit. Now again we are going to wind the yarn thrice around the needle before working a knit. After that, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again in goes the needle. We are going to wind the yarn thrice before working the knit. After that, again 2 number of knit. Again winding of the yarn thrice before working the knit. Then 2 number of knit, winding of the yarn thrice before working the knit, followed by 2 number of knit. Again winding of the yarn thrice, and then working 2 number of knit. So this is the sequence for the first row of the pattern. I am showing the pattern once again so that it becomes easy for the beginners to follow the pattern. And winding of the yarn thrice, and then working 2 number of knit, 1, 2, and the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the first row of the pattern has come to an end. Let's work the second row of the pattern. The edge stitch is slipped off or it is purled. After that, we are going to put our yarn backwards and work 2 number of knit. Now yarn forward. We are going to unwind the stitch. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit. Yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch. Yes, this is the second row of the pattern. Very simple sequence. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch. So we are going to continue in the similar fashion till we reach the second last stitch. Yarn forward, unwinding of the stitch, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Yarn forward, the edge stitch is going to be a purl. So this completes the second row of our pattern. Let's move ahead to the third row of the pattern. The edge stitch is slipped off or it is purled. After that, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards. Now I'm going to slip the stitch into the right needle without working. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1, 2. Yarn backwards, slip the stitch into the right needle. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards, slip the stitch into the right needle without working. So this is the sequence that is to be followed for the third row of the pattern. And I told you earlier, this is a 4-row pattern. 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, slip the stitch into the right needle. Again 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, slip the stitch into the right needle without working, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards. It's going to be a knit, the edge stitch. So this completes the third row of the pattern. Let's move on to the fourth row of the pattern. The edge stitch is purled. After that, we are going to work 2 number of purl, and then again the slipped stitch is again slipped into the right needle without working. So the sequence is very simple: 2 number of purl and then slip the slipped stitch into the right needle without working. This is the fourth row of the pattern. So let us keep working. 2 number of pearl, 1, 2, and slip the slipped stitch into the right needle without working. Then 2 number of pearl, slip the slipped stitch into the right needle, followed by 2 number of pearl, and the edge stitch is going to be a pearl. So here the 4th row of the pattern comes to an end and our 2 set of pattern is complete. Now let's work the pattern one more time. The edge stitch is slipped off or it is a knit. After that 2 number of knit, and then we are going to wind the yarn thrice before working a knit, followed by 2 number of knit, and then working a knit after winding thrice on the right needle. So this is the sequence for the first row of the pattern. Let's keep working. Here I'll be winding the yarn thrice. 1, 2, this is the third. After that 2 number of knit. I'm working the first row of the pattern, winding the yarn thrice, then working a knit. This is the first row of the pattern, and this is an easy pattern which needs stitches in the multiple of 2 plus 1. I'm quite close to the end of this first row. Working 2 number of knit, and finally the edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So this completes the first row of the pattern. Moving on to the second row, the edge stitch is slipped off or purled, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit. Yarn forward. We are going to unwind the stitch there. After that, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Yarn forward, let's unwind the stitch, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit. So this is the sequence for the second row of the pattern. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, we are going to unwind the stitch. So yarn backwards, again 2 number of knit, yarn forward, the edge stitch is going to be a purl. So this completes the second row of the pattern. This is how the pattern is looking. See how nice it is and very easy to work. Now moving ahead to the third row of the pattern, the edge stitch, we can either knit or we can slip it off, that is up to you. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1, 2. Yarn backwards, we are going to slip the stitch simply. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards, slip the slipped stitch, yarn forward, 2 number of purl. So this is the sequence for the third row of the pattern. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, we are going to slip the slipped stitch. So very easy to remember. Do try this beautiful pattern, and I am showing the pattern quite a number of times so that it becomes helpful for the beginners. So working 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the third row of the pattern has come to an end. See how nice it is looking. Moving on to the fourth row of the pattern, the edge stitch is slipped off or it is purled. After that, we are going to work 2 number of purl, 1 and 2, and then we are going to slip the slipped stitch into the right needle without working, followed by 2 number of purl. Again the slipped stitch is slipped into the right needle, then 2 number of purl. So this is the sequence for the fourth row of the pattern. So as I told you in the beginning that this is a beginners friendly pattern, very easy to work. So I think by now you have believed that yes, it is easy. So here my fourth row is about to end. 2 number of purl, the edge stitch is going to be a purl as well. So the fourth row has completed. Finally, this is how our pattern looks. I have shown the pattern thrice. We have worked 3 sets of pattern. So friends, I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I did showing it to you. If you have liked it, if you have found it informative, do give a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family members. If you are new to our channel, do consider subscribing and stay tuned for interesting videos. So till we meet again, it is bye-bye from all of us here at Plants, Crochet, Cooking and more. Bye-bye.